Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well, and today, my friends, we're back with a 2.1 showdown. It's going to be the Greenskins facing off against Grand Cathay. We have Grom the Paunch versus the Dragon-Blooded Lord, so it should be quite a bit of fun. Now, obviously, the games are quite a bit longer, right? So it gives the opportunity for shooting factions to develop themselves, push up slowly, accrue value, all that sort of good stuff. Now, that doesn't mean that, melee factions can't play the game, right? Like, typically, melee factions, yes, Grom the Paunch giving us a little shout out right there, but melee factions are going to have a little bit more dominance on the early objectives initially, so you still can just play two objectives and play very, very cagey and kind of wait for your opponent. And one of my favorite tactics I've been doing, whether with the Dark Elves or the Greenskins, is using a lot of stock units against artillery factions. They suddenly load in, they have all these like fancy shooting pieces, and then they can't really see much of your army. There's not really any good targets. It works out pretty well. So in the back, we got Goblin Rock Lobbers, 4 of them. And my idea here is if Cathay went with like 3 cannons, it's like whatever. These things cost 600 gold. If they want to use ammunition, it's probably going to be like a net negative for them in terms of value. And you can just unsummon them worst case. They have good armor piercing and can wear down Cathay units for sure. We got AP Loonies, nasty skulkers all over the battlefield. So sneaky goblins everywhere, including the biggest goblin of them all. Now, with the new long game mode, Cathay's potential of shooting, I wanted to have a lord that could really survive a beatdown, and Grom the Paunch is for sure the choice there. So at the back, we got Nasty Skulkers, we have Rusty Errors, and some more Night Goblins. And that is it with a little Night Goblin Shaman here. We have the Slowing spell as well as Vindictive Glare, just to kind of snipe flying casters and, have a little bit of poke. Honestly, I was looking at Greenskin magic, and almost none of their magic has good armor piercing, so I almost didn't bring a caster. I was like, maybe I should just spend my money elsewhere. But this guy's so cheap, and having slows and sniping spells is always kind of useful in character. So that's pretty much it. Now for my opponent here, he is going to be coming in with Grand Cathay. This is the Great Mountain King Umai's bringing a gun line. So he's got Peasant Archers as well as Iron Hill Gunners, Crane Gunners, and of course he's experimenting with the dreaded Sky Lanterns. And with the game mode being much longer, these things definitely have more time to accrue value. Also going to be going in with the Dragon-Blooded Lord of Yin. So that's the one that has Talons of the Night, which is pretty good. If I had good like Black Orcs, because you might think in theory that the Greenskin player is going to come in with like Black Orcs and all that, and just try and grind through your armor. But in my experience of going like in land battles at least, and I kind of take a lot that I've learned from land battles and apply it to domination mode. In my experience of going with Black Orcs against Grand Cathay, they just get shot to pieces by Crane Gunners and Iron Hills, and you just lose. So going cheaper infantry and then using your cheap Orc Boars, your Squigs, your Squig Hoppers to really penetrate into the back line, kill their missile units, and then from there you just win the melee fight. Cathay's not going to be able to stand up even against Nasty Skulkers if you had got the Wa going and a lot of support, all that, right? So here we do have the Dragon-Blooded Lord. It's going to be kind of circling about looking for a prize, and it just has the Talons of the Night, which is the Vortex spell. Grom the Paunch going to be moving up, and I saw these blimps and I was kind of mesmerized by their glow. I didn't even kind of know they were there, and he immediately gets value on me. I was like, oh shit, okay, he's shooting me with these things, and he's able to kind of poke Grom, but thankfully Grom heals himself, which is one of the reasons why I think he's kind of the opportune Greenskin Lord pick here. So down here in the low ground, we have 2 Nasty Skulkers, so even if your opponent did have some sort of artillery, you can actually capture the objective while you're invisible, which is pretty hilarious. So we could just kind of sit here and capture this and, live our best life. So we will see if that works out. And we're also going to be moving up to the objective number 2 here for Grand Cathay. Meanwhile, the Dragon-Blooded Lord here going to be sitting back and probably trying to look to get some vortexes. I think he did discover my Rusty Errors. I was trying to get a little bit of DAC on him, but he was flying very close to the terrain here, so I couldn't quite get a good line on him, and the Talons of the Night will be coming down very shortly. And I believe I do try and dodge it. I think I was a little bit late. Yeah, I try and dodge it. It had its wind-up time nerfed, so I'm able to get further out of it than you used to. Like back in the day, that would have gone off sooner, and there's pretty much no escape. It's much like Pit of Shades. It's basically like the Grand Cathay version of Pit of Shades. But, nobody really complained about it as much because Grand Cathay was a very weak faction. So they're like, just let him have it. Throw him a bone. It's only Cathay who has it, right? But, yeah, that wasn't too bad. It's only like 200-300 value on these little goblins, if not less. So not really going to complain. So we get the objective here. And now we're going to be capturing the home objective for Grand Cathay. So moving up with the goblins. And, again, the main principle of this build is don't give your opponent good things to shoot. And here, the Sky Lanterns, they have good armor piercing and shield breaker. They would have a hard on to shoot like Biggins and Black Orcs and all that. And honestly, yeah, the Rock Lobbers, whatever. You can shoot them if you want. And it looks like Grand Cathay is going to be moving up to play the objectives now. I do get the triple cap. And, a lot of people in the comments of the last tournament stream were saying, nobody ever wins by domination anymore. It seems like it's mostly just land battle trading. That's definitely not true. The triple cap can really sneak up on you very quickly. I mean, I already have 100 points here, and I'm getting rapid pressure. So Cathay's going to move up on their point, and we will probably pull the trigger and go for the dive. because if we don't, you know, we're just going to get shot to pieces. Crane Gunner shooting into goblins, which is great. I'm totally fine with that. AP Loonies get popped by that shield breaker. And the 2 lanterns kind of just, you know, having a little bit of fun here. But the rock lobbers are in range, and I basically moved the rock lobbers all the way up to my capture point. You know, Cathay's Vanguard options are very limited. We might see some peasant horsemen come out, which orc boars are just such a good unit. For 650, you're getting just a ton of armor piercing, decent armor and shields, and, you know, some mobility and mass. It's very, very nice for the Greenskins. But Nasty Skulkers getting blasted. Cathay being very, very conservative here. Just moving up with the Crane Gunners, trying to shoot my infantry off the point before they move up. And now Grand Cathay is going to be waltzing forward, and the Jade Warriors will be getting on the goodness. And they do have Harmony as well. So Talons of the Night coming down once again. And I do get a Vindictive Glare, if I'm not mistaken, up on the caster. I think my little guy was out of range, but Rusty Arrows get popped again. And, you know, honestly, 2 Talons of the Night doesn't even kill the Rusty Arrows. I'm A-okay with that. Like, that's really not a bad trade for me. And I'm also going for Mission Impossible. So I have 2 Nasty Skulkers circling around the back. So those bad boys are going to be going all the way around the back of his army and trying to kind of blockade some of the summons and whatnot. But he's going to be capturing his home point. So now I got a little bit stressed, to be completely honest. You know, I just had 1 archer down here in the low ground, but I was like, oh shit, my artillery is like really far forward. And if he just pushes me and is able to win this fight here, then I just lose all 4 of my artillery pieces, and it's going to be bad. So I kind of panicked a little bit. I pull the Orc Boar boys. They get attacked by peasant horsemen, but with their armor, they should win that trade eventually. It's not the best one, but the armor does make the difference. So we got Dirk and Squig Hoppers coming in. The Broken Tusk Mob is an amazing unit. Really, really good. Great combat stats. Really high armor for the Greenskins. 100 armor is thick and anti-large. Now, the first of my Gobos have made it into the front line to the brave Nasty Skulkers, but they do get run down by a lot of the Cathay peasant horsemen. So those guys get in there and show them the business. Nasty Skulkers, extremely vulnerable against charges, but we do have a good opportunity to get into the backfield. We're sending in our 8-peak Loonies and our Goblins. Our artillery is still shooting pretty well, and Grom the Paunch is causing some big disruption. He's in the backfield, just kind of running through these random Cathay infantry. I did have him on the missiles, but, you know, he was getting chased. Grom is a very, very disruptive piece, and in my experience as playing Cathay, I consider them one of my main factions to play. I really like them. It's very, very tough to deal with Grom-type characters who are just in your backfield. You don't have a lot of good SEM killing unless you go for the dragon characters, right? So Talons of the Night did whiff there, and the Broken Tusk Mob, who let the pigs out, baby? The pigs charging down the hill, getting a big wall going, and they do eventually get into the spears, which is not where they want to end up, but at least they have 100 armor, so the little poking spears aren't going to be too bad. So very devastating fight for Grand Cathay there. Crane Gunners in the back, of course, are putting some hurt onto the Broken Tusk Mob, but they have crushed these peasant archers. They crushed the Iron Hails, and the Iron Hails were also partially killed by all these rock lobbers. Now, Cathay, of course, can push up into my artillery position, but, you know, I got a lot of good Vanguard summon. Spider Riders, Squig Hoppers. I do unsummon this artillery piece before he's able to get it. It gives me like 100 resources back or something, but, you know, it's still better than just nothing, right? And the Squig Hoppers are battling the Peasant Horsemen. Although in retrospect, honestly, leaving that artillery piece would have been the smart play, because I would have just, you know, fended him off here and had another artillery piece. So you can see sometimes you can get a little bit trigger happy on that. Orc Boys versus Jade Warriors. Jade Warriors should win this fight, but with the WA active, I think the Orc Boys might actually have a pretty decent little brawl here versus these guys. We'll have to see and kind of follow their progress with great interest here. But Orc Boys don't have terrible punch. You know, 34 weapon strength ain't no joke. Jade Warriors extending up a little bit, and the Broken Tusk Mob is basically just going balls deep in the battle lines. And it's funny, I had this big flank coming with these Nasty Skulkers. I was like, wait a second, where's the backfield? I was ready to dive on all those missiles, but we couldn't find anything. So Cathay does have the 1 point. Squig Hoppers fighting on the edge of the map. Grand Cathay not really going for anything in the backfield, but now we get some scary units coming out. So these are going to be the Righteous Lances of Wei Jin. And these guys are actually very powerful. Great armor piercing, good battlefield mobility. And honestly, with my army, I don't really have anything that can keep pace with them and stop them from just shocking down whatever they want here. So we do end up using the Gorkle Fix-It to slow down these Jade Warriors and try and get the Orc Boys to finish them off, which was pretty funny. And we'll get some more piggies coming out in a second. Now, looking at the overall state of the battle, the value trading was pretty even, I would say. I think I might have had a slight disadvantage in the beginning and maybe a slight advantage here. The Sky Lanterns, of course, sitting and shooting and accruing decent value, but not really like hitting high value targets. Mostly shooting Goblins and Squig Hoppers and like cheap cab units. Broken Tusk Mob still cackling in the back of the Cathay formations, but now I'm just going to start methodically losing my artillery pieces. But again, they're only 600 gold, so it's not really a huge deal. Righteous Lances, though, going to kill these Goblins in a matter of seconds. You can see the artillery pieces are being destroyed, and the Grand Cathay Air Force is certainly going to be having a field day, and really there's nothing I can do about this. You know, I guess some Spider Riders maybe to kind of chase them around and lock them down and then swarm them would be my best bet, but it's certainly easier said than done. Squig Hoppers are also really, really good against Grand Cathay. You know, they have a bonus for infantry and a ton of armor piercing, so Squig Hoppers just chasing through Cathay infantry is pretty much a dream come true. Cathay, in my experience, does struggle to deal with the Greenskin Squig Hoppers, and even the basic Squig Herds. Now, Grom the Paunch is just cleaning up all the artillery pieces and range units he can. So these grain gunners just being hunted. And like I said, Grand Cathay's peeling potential is pretty poor. You could take the Righteous Lances away Jin and go after Grom, but he's very durable, especially with Grom's Lucky Banner. You can give him 40% ward save, so he could really tank that. And then you're going to be having, a 1,600 gold unit just tied down here, not really kind of clearing out the rest of the Greenskin army. So it's very tough. But again, another unit of mine does get crunched. These Squig Hoppers get broken. But once again, another Wah has come down here in the valley, and we are kicking, we are punching. We got the big clubs, and yes, these trolls should be doing good work as more and more pigs do squeal in the distance and prepare to envelop here against the Grand Cathay army. So looking at the cap, we're about halfway to the victory point, a little bit over halfway. Feeling pretty comfortable here. Grand Cathay is summoning in a lot of infantry, but this is the point in the game where I started to feel very comfortable because I know the Greenskins will typically outtrade, Cathay in melee, whether it be my Greenskin Cav against his Cav. His infantry might outtrade some of my chaff, but with the support of my Squigs and Stone Trolls here, there didn't really feel like there was much Grand Cathay could do here, having had a lot of their melee stuff really get beaten down here. Their crane gunners, iron hails, crossbows, all things which are very good, but they all kind of got crumped a little bit, right? So Peasant Horsemen getting charged here by the Orc Boys. Orc Boys going to have a very good trade here into these two units. Jade Lancers don't really have the best armor piercing. If you look at their value, it's only 9, so even against like the 60 armor they endure. But these guys have a little bit of a different theory about it. The Righteous Lances of Wei Jin have been probably one of the biggest MVPs for Grand Cathay here. Looks like they wanted to charge into the back of the Orc Boys, but maybe had changed their mind. In the meantime, Squig Hoppers continuing to crush some of the overextending Cathay units. Grom the Paunch just on the objective here. It's going to be sitting and fighting off whatever Cathay units he can find. There's a little bit of a blunder. I should have had him going elsewhere, but really Cathay's looking very thin. A lot of the units they have, the 2 Sky Lanterns as well as the Righteous Lances, I think it's a little bit too much in the air. They're not able to do quite as much as they need to. And the DPS coming in from the Sky Lanterns, that's an extra 1,600. I feel like if there had just been, let's say, the Righteous Lances of Wei Jin in the beginning of the game to stuff my pushing, he could have protected his shooting, whereas the 2 Sky Lanterns, I think Sky Lanterns are a little bit better for melee focus type builds, just for providing harmony. Anyways, here, yeah, that was a beautiful cast on his part. He actually catches my pushing in unit. My attention was very focused on the high ground right there, and he wrecked me really bad, so super well played. And the Righteous Lances, yeah, just going to come in and finish the job. Basically, I'm going to be getting pushed off this point, and the Righteous Lances doing the work, although the funny thing is he doesn't have a lot of capture weight here. The Peasant Horsemen are the only ground-based unit, and I just kind of force path the Spider Riders. I'm like, all right, let's kill as many models as we can, pull some Squig Hoppers in maybe, but then I change my mind, seeing that he's a little bit overloaded here. But it's going to take him a long time for those Peasant Horsemen to cap the point, so I didn't really feel too much stress about that. And in the deep reserve, we have Orc Boys coming in, we have more Orc Boys, we have Nasty Skulkers, Squig Herds coming in from the deep. And I was like, you know what? He doesn't have that much on this objective. His big focus, the big expensive pieces on the low ground, let's just get our big Wah up here and just grab this objective. So we are moving up. We got Squig Herds, we got Trolls, we got the whole zoo coming in. And the Orc Boys also in position. And yes, he does have Halberds, but the Halberds, they're not terribly numerous. I guess there are 3 of them, but I should be able to just bog them down with Orc Boys and then rear charge them and just hammer them with cycle charging coming in from the pigs and the squigs. And we do also get the rest of our cav to come around the side. At this point, we had a pretty substantial value lead, and you can see it's really reflected here on the battlefield. But, Grand Cathay isn't going to be able to kind of stop this. Yeah, the Halberds might be able to do something for a moment, but their killing power is decent. But we cap this point, and that pretty much is going to be GG. We see the Righteous Lances coming in. The Peasant Horsemen just got wrecked by some Squig Hoppers and Spider Riders. They weren't able to get that point, and that is going to be the end of the road for Grand Cathay. We have the triple cap, and that is going to be pretty much it. GG. Well played. Certainly a really fun match. Very cagey. I had to be very careful with his shooting, but I think, obviously it's very early on. This was actually one of the first games I ever played on the New Domination. And I think he said it was his first game in the New Domination as well. So I definitely like the experiment. I think that the Blimps, my conclusion after seeing this game would be that they're maybe not against Greenskins, who are a little bit aggressive. I think you need more stopping power to keep the Greenskins from just going balls deep in your back line. So I would probably just cut the Blimps. The rest of the build's honestly probably fine. Just cut the Blimps, maybe start with the Righteous Lances of Wei Jin in your army. And and just go like that, because they were a terror, man. I just couldn't stop them, and they were full health. If those things had been in his backfield, peeling for his guns, killing the Broken Tusk mob, could have been a very different game. Also, the magic was very ineffective, strangely enough. Probably because I just brought shit units, right? But I think against Greenskins, going for Lore of Yang is probably better. Going for the Breath Attack spell and the Jade Shield spell, so then you get your big expensive units, charge into Broken Tusk mob, heal them up that way. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I think the cheap fire spam would be better at clearing out goblins and chaff. And Black Orcs are already going to get countered by your shooting, so I think you got to just mix it up a little bit. Honestly, even though that may have looked like it was a very Greenskin dominating game, And at the end of the day, it probably was. Like, I think Cathay can totally win this matchup. I think we just got to theory craft a little bit more about builds, and we'll all figure it out. So GG, well played. See you guys on the other side. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. And that is it for today.